Lin Dunn didn't just throw Stephanie White under the bus, she launched that thing at full speed with zero brakes, and Indiana Fever fans are absolutely spiraling. The drama unfolding in the Fever front office just hit a brand new tier of chaos, and make no mistake, this mess could have serious ripple effects on Caitlin Clark's career. This isn't just some petty beef. This could flip the entire narrative on how the league treats its brightest star. How do you feel about the suits upstairs dictating how coaches handle generational players? Let's not sugarcoat this circus. I'm here to unpack every wild detail of this full-blown soap opera playing out in Indianapolis. Lin Dunn went full scorched earth mode on social media, and when seasoned execs start airing grievances like this out in the open, that's not just smoke, that's a full-on 5-alarm fire inside the organization. Let's backtrack for a second and remember how this season was supposed to go. The Indiana Fever rolled into the year like they were building a super team, stacked with savvy vets and postseason resumes. Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson. They went shopping for battle-tested leaders like they were assembling the Avengers. On paper, a dream squad. In reality, the execution's been messier than a toddler finger-painting session. But here's where things really go off the rails. It's not just about the L's piling up in the standings. The real failure is how Caitlin Clark is being handled. You've got the most electric offensive player the league has seen in years. Someone who didn't just break records. She broke the internet. So what does Stephanie White do? She takes the ball out of her hands and forces her into a dull, lifeless motion offense that's putting half the fan base to sleep. This offense looked awful, and Sydney Colson, my God, is terrible running point guard on this team. Terrible. Now, for those of you blessed enough not to know what this motion offense looks like, imagine a bunch of players playing hot potato on a loop, hoping something magically opens up. That's it. It's a system designed for high school scrimmages, not elite athletes. And when you've got someone like Clark, that kind of offense isn't just a misfire, it's borderline sabotage. That's like buying a Lambo and never driving it over 20 miles per hour. They hide zero fast break points. Zero fast break points. On the game. Zero fast break points. I don't care what the score ends up. Look at what Clark did back at Iowa. She was the offense. She operated a free-flowing system where she called the shots and lit up scoreboards. Just last week, in a win over the Liberty, she accounted for 54 points via buckets and dimes. That's what happens when you actually let her run the show. But White seems allergic to handing her the keys, preferring to jam her into a system that kills everything special about her game. Then came the social media explosion. Lin Dunn, once the Fever's GM and now awkwardly pushed into a vague senior advisor position, decided she'd had enough. She posted a very pointed statement online, something about not expecting players to execute things you don't drill in practice. It sounds harmless, sure. But let's be honest, it was dripping with shade. And it wasn't just when she said it, it was what she was responding to. This came right after another brutal loss where the offense looked completely rudderless. The players seemed lost. Clark looked frustrated. And the fans? They were one bad possession away from grabbing pitchforks. Dunn didn't just throw shade. She practically printed out a playbook of everything wrong with White's coaching and slid it across the internet. And fans? Oh, they're done being polite. One particularly savage comment said, "The fans are turning on Stephanie White, and fast." These aren't casuals tuning in once a week. These are ride-or-die Fever supporters who've stuck with the team through thick and mostly thin. If they are flipping the switch this early in the season, that's not a red flag. That's a neon billboard screaming, "We've seen enough." Like they were embarrassingly bad without Caitlin Clark. They were just embarrassingly bad. And I mean this, a good coach will figure something out. A good coach will figure something out. Does this team play defense? No. I mean this team doesn't play defense. They just got lucky. Keys miss shots. They've got lucky T's miss shots. They don't play defense. They still don't play defense. I know they held the Mystics 83 points. This was a Mystics team who were not shooting well. They don't play defense. They don't defensive rebound. They don't put in any effort. And that's on coach. That is on the coach. What makes all of this extra maddening is that this whole disaster was avoidable. People were warning about this months ago. They said it was a horrible idea to take someone as inventive and freewheeling as Clark and toss her into a rigid system like motion offense. They begged the staff to build the team around her. But nope, White clearly thought she knew better. And now, the results speak for themselves. And here's the part that'll really bake your brain. White got fined for publicly criticizing the referees, but maybe, just maybe, she should spend more time worrying about her own playbook than the officiating. Because what's really killing this team isn't a missed call or two, it's the fact that they are actively wasting their once-in-a-generation talent. Let's talk data for a sec. When Clark is on the floor, Indiana's offensive rating is 107.5. When she's off, 82.2. That's a 25-point swing. That's not a small drop-off, that's a complete offensive collapse. This so-called motion offense, it's supposed to promote flow, reactions, rhythm. What it really does is suffocate playmakers and stall any momentum. And with someone like Clark, who sees the court in 4K before others even blink, you want her improvising, slinging passes, creating magic. Instead, they've got her standing around, passing sideways. You wouldn't tell Steph Curry to only shoot layups, so why is Clark being boxed in? And don't even get me started on this whole, take the ball out of Caitlin's hands, strategy. The woman is already a living legend, led Iowa to back-to-back title games, crushed every scoring record imaginable, turned the WNBA into must-see TV, and redefined the rookie ceiling by becoming a first-team All-WNBA player in year one. You don't rein her in, you unleash her. The final blow. The fact that Lin Dunn isn't just anyone sounding the alarm. She's the architect of the Fever's only championship run. She was coaching when Indiana took the whole thing in 2012. She knows what a winning culture looks like. And when someone with that resume starts raising eyebrows, you better believe there's fire where that smoke is. And if that wasn't enough to make you question White's game plan, just glance around the league. Look at Vegas with A'ja Wilson, or New York with Sabrina Ionescu. Those teams build around their stars. They don't try to system them into oblivion. They embrace the skill, elevate the strengths, and hand them the spotlight. I actually think that she was right in saying that. She was 100% right, and they fired her to quick fix it. Which is, a little bit disappointing. It is a little bit disappointing. The Fever entered the season with championship aspirations plastered across their schedules, and Caitlin Clark was crystal clear before tip-off. Their goal was to bring home a title. But let's be honest. How are you supposed to chase a ring if you refuse to unleash your best weapon? It's like entering the Indy 500 only to set a speed limit at 60 miles per hour. Beyond Clark's personal ambition, the broader WNBA landscape is stacked. The Liberty are playing elite offense, the Lynx are still a threat, and title-tested teams like Las Vegas and Phoenix are putting it all together. If Indiana wants to match that caliber, it's time to quit playing it safe. Yes, some squads can thrive on a motion-based approach, but this roster isn't built for anonymity. It's built around a generational talent who can tilt a game with a pinpoint pass or a moment of offensive brilliance. Why ask a Ferrari to idle in first gear? When you have someone like Caitlin, you don't shoehorn her into a system. You craft the entire offense around her abilities. This isn't just X's and O's, it's a philosophical chasm. Do you trust your superstar to direct traffic and create magic? Or do you cling from the sidelines, forcing her into cookie-cutter patterns? Adapt to your talent or expect subpar results? That's the question every successful organization faces. America's watching this unfold, and it's like a slow-motion train wreck. We see the derailment coming, but the brakes never apply. Lin Dunn's recent social post might seem harmless, but it unveiled a much larger rift. It exposed a fractured vision between front office and sidelines, a disconnect over how to utilize Indiana's most important player ever. This isn't about who runs practice, it's about who gets to write the playbook. What really makes this blow up is Stephanie White's recent history. She brought that same motion offense from the Connecticut Sun, where it worked, sure, but that squad didn't include Caitlin Clark. Now she's attempting to transplant a system not built for Caitlin's extraordinary playmaking. It's like a chef crafting ramen with Wagyu beef. You're wasting world-class talent on low-carbon stock noodles. Motion offense sounds feel good. Everyone touches the ball, you spread the responsibility. But basketball isn't fair. It's merit-based. If you've got the most dynamic creator on the court, you feed her and get out of the way. Clark thrived at Iowa precisely because the offense let her breathe. She averaged 28 points and over 8 assists per game, using her vision, IQ, and decision-making. But Indiana's current system turns her into a mere cog, moving screens, passing blindly, waiting for fate to hand her an open look. It's backwards, and it makes Lin Dunn's criticism hit harder. Now, consider Clark's expected trajectory. From Rookie of the Year to MVP contender. Instead, she's caught trying to fit inside a rigid offense that doesn't fit her strengths, and it's affecting both her and the team. The jump in offensive efficiency when the ball's in Caitlin's hands doesn't lie. They light it up with her, they stall without her, and that's infuriating to watch. We've had brief glimpses of real potential, like that Liberty game where White finally freed Clark in the fourth and she exploded for 32 points, flipping the scoreboard. That's the kind of energy and effectiveness that comes when you let a star shine instead of dimming her light. The DeWanna Bonner debacle adds yet another awkward layer. She flat out left, not due to X's and O's but because the system couldn't adjust. Relying on rigid player movement means losing a piece like Bonner leaves a gap wide enough to drive through. In a Clark-centric system, you lose Bonner, but Clark still controls possessions, still creates offense. That's resilience. Lin Dunn's remark about drilling what you want applies on a philosophical level. When your front office envisions Clark leading on a talent-based offense, but your coach installs a rigid, closed system, you end up in a tug-of-war. And guess who gets pulled apart? The team. Clark's injury earlier this season wasn't just an absence. It was a stress test of the system. While she sat out those 5 games, Indiana's offensive rating cratered to 82.2. Not because Clark's irreplaceably brilliant, but because the motion system needs everyone exactly in place. That fragility proves the concept was flawed from the start. A smart offense has built-in contingencies, not fail-safes that collapse without one superstar. But this motion setup relies on perfect timing, disciplined spacing, and superior basketball IQ from everyone. When you build that around a generational guard, then ask her to conform. There's only one outcome. So what's next? Will Stephanie White swallow pride, rebuild the playbook around Clark's elite vision? Will the front office step in to correct the course before real damage is done? Or will they triple down on dysfunction while one of the best players on the planet squanders real prime years? Other teams are watching with interest, coaches strategizing, GMs making notes. If Indiana can't unleash Caitlin, someone else sure will. This isn't about contracts. Clark's secure in that department, but trust and respect, that's on thin ice. Let's keep this perspective. Clark isn't a cog in a system, she's the engine. You don't make room for greatness, you build the highway. With Lin Dunn's warning echoing over this franchise, it's down to Stephanie White and Indiana leadership. Either adjust fast or risk wasting a once-in-a-generation talent. The Fever are at a crossroads. Every late-night Twitter rant, every motion play, every frustrated stat line, it's all pointing at a decision that needs to be made. Stick to pride or pivot to pragmatism. Because stagnation isn't neutral. It's the enemy of greatness. The clock's ticking and fans are watching. Do you think Coach Stephanie White should be fired or does she need more time?